Hello, and my name is Judy Arnold, and I am here to discuss with you about abortion. I decided to choose this topic because I think as a mother, it's one of the toughest decisions that any woman could ever make. Um, I'm going to list a few of the pros and cons when choosing an abortion. Uh, as a mom, when deciding to become a mom, we have to not only think about ourselves, but we have to think of that unborn child, and then we also have to think about the father. So there's all these lives that you have to think of when making this decision. This is a decision that has to be made quite quickly, and sometimes we don't know if we make the right decision or not. So I'm going to list some of the pros and cons when choosing an abortion. My information that I got from this was www.unplannedpregnancy.com. These are some of the pros in making a decision for an abortion. One, it can be it can involve low risk medical. It is an alternative to pregnancy, and it's an alternative to parenting. When women, we want to have control to make decisions over our bodies, so that is a pro with this choice. Sometimes we're faced with severe health issues, and we're faced with life-threatening conditions. We also are put in situations of rape and incest, which may make us choose to have an abortion or not. So these are some really tough decisions on pros as to why maybe a woman would decide to have an abortion. I got on the website of abortioncon.com, and here are some of the cons when choosing to have an abortion. The first thing is that it can involve some side effects. It's very costly. You will have psychological effects after the abortion. You have to make this decision in early stages of the pregnancy. So you may not know if you made that right decision or not. If you're a minor, it does require that you have a parental consent. So, that's really tough. You could be going against your religion beliefs, and you can be faced with some harsh punishments on having an abortion. I think the biggest thing when you choose to have an abortion is that you never really get to meet your child. So that's a really, really probably the toughest decision. As moms, we're faced with tough decisions, and I think in today's society, we don't educate our children enough to practice safe sex or really give a heads up on how tough parenting can be. Moving forward, I'm going to discuss some of the public and political opinions of what people think on abortion. Most Americans are, I would say 51% are actually pro-choice, as 41% Americans are pro-life. In 2018, we took a poll where 45% of women and only 42% of men actually agreed that abortion should be covered over most health insurance companies. That's another topic that you have to think of. In 2017, we had a research survey that stated that 57% of abortions should be legal in all or most states, yet only 40% of the abortions should be illegal. 64% of Americans, leaving 84% of those being Democrats, and 53% of Republicans all say, no, do not overturn Roe versus Wade. I got that information on procon.org. That's actually a really good website to get a multitude of information from on several different topics. let's talk about some of the procedures with abortion. So there are different stages of abortion. First trimester, second trimester, third trimester. During the first trimester, which is between 7 and 9 weeks, usually the best technique is by just taking a medical pill. This will cause yourself to go into like having a miscarriage. Then it starts getting a little bit more complicated. Between 12 and 16 weeks of your pregnancy, you will have to have performed that is called a surgical abortion. This is performed by section, vacuum, or a D&E, which is a dilation and evacuation. So during the second trimester, it gets a little more costly, and then the procedure is a little more complicated. In 2014, there were 67% of the abortions were performed less than eight weeks out. 91.5% of these abortions were performed within the first 13 weeks of the pregnancy. So it's showing that women are having to make a tougher decision fast. So they're usually having most of their abortions during the second trimester. 77.3% were performed by the surgical procedure, and only 22 were performed in the first trimester. The cost of these abortions can run starting at $500 up to $1,000, depending on what stage you're at. And then let's go into some of the key arguments from both sides. Your key arguments are that, life begins at conception. You have your heartbeat, it's starting at conception. So when people look at abortion, they look at it as murder. The law states that it permits that no human should intentionally harm another human without receiving some sort of a punishment. So why would you think that abortion would be any different? That's how some people look at it. Adoption is always an option. You can look at it as, there's adoption if you're a rape victim or an incest victim. Carrying that child full term, well, maybe adoption would be better for that child, but never knows that it came from that. Yet there are several of our children that are already left in foster care that are being abused. So, which is best? We want to have a choice to control our body, but wouldn't preventative safe sex be a better option than abortion? And I think we need to educate ourselves on that a little bit more. Americans don't want us to use their tax-paying dollars to, it's morally wrong to do that, to have an abortion. Yet raising children is even more costly. There are lots of single parents left on the welfare system. So, which is best? Do you want to bring a child into this world facing those challenging consequences? It's tough. Minors have to have a parental consent, and yet they are left with insufficient knowing that, they're insufficient to life experiences, and do they really fully understand their decision at that age, which leaves them with a lot of psychological effects for the aftermath of the abortion. For me, I think it's a choice is always best. If I say that because if you already have a child and you're pregnant, you have to think of the child that's already here along with the child that you're bringing into the world. But if you're left with an illness, that, hey, do I have a choice to abort or not be able to carry the child full term for medical reasons? Those are some wise choices, I think. So for me, I'm kind of pro-choice, I would say, because I think having a choice is a good thing. Um, Plus, I know how tough it is being a single mom raising children on my own. Not saying going back and I would change that about my children. I just think that if we're taught how really tough the world really is, then, um, we might make better decisions. Well, thank you for listening to my argument topic on abortion, and you have a great day.